Welcome to this week's edition of The Paint Box. I'm Jane Roy, and I'm here with a really good friend of ours, Lucy Ogletree. We are in Brantford right now at Lucy's show called Humble Folk, but we're gonna do a bit of a walk around a bit later. But part of the reason Lucy is such a good friend, Lucy's been to South Sudan with us, so we're going to talk about that when we do a bit of a walk around. First, let's get to know you a little bit, Lucy, particularly as an artist. You're a folk artist, correct? Yeah. So who are you, and why do you paint?
Okay, my name's Lucy, as you know, and I've been painting. I could always draw since I was little.
Yeah.
I've been painting since 1975 as professionally.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for many, many years now, and I love it very, very much.
The style that you're painting is what, kind of Maud Lewis style, right? A little bit.
Right.
It's folk art. So what's so important about folk art?
That's one of the reasons I was asked to do this, because Matthew from the Glenhyrst Art Gallery here said he had found it, not many people were showing their folk art that much. He couldn't find a lot when he was trying to put the show together.
Yeah.
And he had said he'd been following me for years.
And we're actually in the art gallery, so you sometimes hear people coming in, you'll hear phones ringing, which is great. Yeah.
So folk art is self-taught. I haven't had any training. I've just taught myself, and I've progressed. I can look at my artwork when I first start, and there's some here that are fairly early. Yeah. And then as my art progressed, as you know, when you paint, you continue learning and changing. And folk art is really like ground roots kind of art. Yeah. Or grassroots, not ground roots.
Ground roots, grassroots in terms of just,
Yeah, you just, rug hooking, quilting, all those are considered folk art. And a lot of people were self-taught.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so when we think of folk art and folk artists, we think of obviously people like Grandma Moses, but in the Canadian context, Maud Lewis.
Right.
And of course there was a real movement over time and real celebration about folk arts. But sometimes we look at it and it's self-taught, but it's colorful, it's natural, it tells a story. And when I look at some of your pieces, obviously we're in the Halloween room right now, but they're so filled with kind of imagery and a story, correct? And is that what you're trying to portray?
Well, in the beginning, particularly this one here, it's called Ghost Town. It was memory paintings. In the beginning, I did a lot of memory paintings of my childhood. Skating. There's one in the art gallery here of a Christmas concert. Yep. Some of them are just whimsical. A lot of people say they're childlike. Yeah. But it's just, I would just start to create this story, and it would just come alive.
So let's unpack childlike a little bit. Some people would say childlike / not an artist, but how do you feel about that?
Well, mine I would consider whimsical. Childlike, they're playful, they're fun.
Childlike is not childish in that context. So I think that's one of the big things that's important, because you're trying to get back to the feelings of your youth, which are feeling of family, feeling of growing, some of those kind of simpler times.
And I think a lot of children lose that. I think every little child is creative, and somehow as they grow up, some people just lose it. They just don't. They want it to be perfect.
Yeah. 100% true. There's a famous saying by Picasso which said, every child is an artist. The problem is to stay as an artist when you grow up.
That's right.
You've been painting for 40, 50 years almost?
I could always draw when I was little, but as far as how long have I been painting, I started in 1975.
Yeah. What made you take that little switch?
I don't know. I just decided to paint one day. I really like folk art, first of all.
Yeah.
And I love American folk art. I love Grandma Moses.
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with Maud Lewis's work. Jim Norris is another Canadian folk artist. He's from Nova Scotia.
Okay.
They painted what they knew. And so then I started painting what I remembered from my childhood.
Okay. So that's the who, that's the what, that's the why, and the when. So where we are right now is we are in Brantford. It's the public gallery. So the public gallery approached you about having a show. This is about just exploring and telling a story, which is kind of amazing. So the show is called Humble Folk.
Yep.
And the purpose of the show is to
showcase folk art, because Matthew also said, the curator here, told when we had the reception, that he found that he wasn't taught that in school. It was like a lot of other different art styles, but not folk art.
Not folk art.
And he really loves folk art.
Yeah. So if someone were to want to learn and just do this themselves, what would you tell them?
Just try to be, think of your childhood to start if you want, or something that you like, and not try to put it into a category. When I was young, when I was little, I was in public school, and we had to do a drawing.
Yep.
And so I love Halloween, obviously. And I did a drawing of everything that represented Halloween to me, everything. Yep. And I put it in the drawing. Yep. And that to me was folk art. Yep. I didn't realize it at the time. The teacher said it was too cluttered. Yep. But as I grew up and understood, that I was actually drawing folk art. Yeah,
and you were expressing what was within you in that kind of context. And it's so easy for us to go, this is the way it's meant to be, right? Everybody responds differently to different things, but the ability to know what you're about and kind of follow it through. And even though the teacher said it was not cluttered, it was too cluttered, you still kept doing it. You still kind of.
I like that feeling of creativity. I don't. You probably get it too. It's an excitement. You suddenly remembered something that you want to make or create, and it comes to life. When I do a drawing for myself to recreate as a painting, I do a sketch, and I just do stick people. It's really, really not something I would want anybody to see, but I know what I want. It's just the ideas. Yeah. If I did a commission painting, I would sketch it out as best I could so that the person I'm doing it for can actually visualize or change what they want to change. Yeah.
The fact that you do that is great. I struggle with it being perfect, though, and not necessarily knowing where I'm going, but entering into it and having this struggle with the painting. So because of that, I don't always finish because I don't see. Whereas I look at your pieces and think, because it's the story you're trying to tell, you already have that story in your mind when you start,
right?
Which is great. And it's not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be a story. Done is better than perfect, and perfect is very difficult for all of us to think. It's got to be the perfection. So this is done, and in the context, it's wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm really excited to kind of go around. What I'm excited is that we're in Brantford. This is the local gallery, kind of our London Regional Art Gallery and museum, and they're really celebrating, as you say, grassroots. I think that's wonderful. So can we go around and talk a little bit and then we're going to come back, and then I've got some questions for you, some more questions. And so we're just going to peek at some of the art. You were telling me a bit of a heartbreaking story. There's two artists here. There's yourself and another woman.
Yeah, Barbara Clark.
Barbara Clark as well. And we should celebrate her a little bit because she had the show opening and
she passed away in February. Yeah. But her family really wanted her work to be here. Yeah. Barbara has some work in Smithsonian in was it Washington? Yep. Yeah. Her work is very, very it's very primitive. It's very colorful. Yeah. I love it. When I looked at it, I could see how much work she put into it, and you can see a lot of it is just her memories of the town she grew up in,
Yeah.
Her animals, you see almost all of her pictures have animals in them.
And she's a Canadian, and she's from this area as well.
Yeah.
Is that correct? So we've got a Londoner or some Southwestern Ontario.
And that was the purpose of this, was they wanted to make sure it was regional.
Yeah.
They didn't want to bring people from, across the country. They wanted this show to be regional.
Yeah, that's amazing. So let's walk around. Yeah, let's go around. This is awesome. Okay, perfect. So we're here with Lucy, and actually, there's a Jen. We're going to start in the Halloween room because this is where we are, and then we'll start in Halloween. We'll go around, and then we're gonna do this backwards. We're going to end up outside.
Okay.
Does that sound okay? Yeah. So here it's Barbara, Clark, Fleming, and Lucy Ogletree. That's the poster, which sort of shows what's going on. You were talking about the piece behind us and how this was from a memory, and this was your family.
Yep. Yeah, so this is my mom actually made these 2 Halloween costumes for us. So that's my sister and I.
Yeah.
And that's my other cousin Gary and Beth and Kathy. And then it's called Ghost Town. And I loved painting. That was a lot of fun.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got Ghost Town, and you said this was also your family?
Yes, and this was more original, this was painted in 2003.
Yeah.
And it's painted on wood, which I did in the beginning, but once I started producing prints and had to take them to be photographed, they were really heavy. Yeah. So I switched to masonite. So that's what I paint on now. Oh, wow. And again, it's me, my sister Marion, Gary and Beth, and Jeanette, she lived down the road. That's my grandma, my grandpa, and Snoopy.
And what do you love about Halloween so much?
I love the creativity of Halloween. We always made our own costumes when we were little, and we would work on them forever. Now kids just go and buy them at the store, where we actually created them. Yeah. And I just love that whole creativity again.
Yeah. Lucy. And public gallery, Lucy, your name is in lights. Well, actually, no, as an artist, is that not thrilling?
Yes, it was. When I walked in, I wasn't expecting to see that.
Yeah.
Yes, it's pretty special.
So one of the things for me, anytime obviously a private gallery is one thing in terms of the sales, but when you've got a public gallery that is kind of celebrating your work, that's as an artist, that's thrilling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Very much. Thank you. Okay, and thanks to the gallery. Okay, we're gonna follow you upstairs. Okay. Because that's the next part, right?
Yep. So they blended Barbara and Fleming and mine together.
Yep.
And I think they complement each other.
Yeah, so let's see a piece of her work. Do you have a favorite one of her work? Or
I love them all. I love the fact that she has a lot of fall colors too.
Yeah.
In the animals.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really.
Okay.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, they're very beautiful. So I have in my hand a copy of the brochure. And I see that painting over there. Mm-hmm. Actually, so let's go visit that.
That's the one they used.
Yeah.
This one's called the Dresden Fair, because that's where I'm from. It's from the Dresden, Thamesville area, actually. I grew up between Thamesville and Dresden. Yeah. So again, my family's in here. My aunt and uncle and the kids and my sister, my mom, my grandma, they're all in here. We used to go to this fair when we were little. One thing I didn't realize when I painted this painting, because I'm just saying it's because I'm left-handed, but the horses are actually running the wrong way around the track. They should be going this way around the track. But I thought, you know what? It's my painting. I can do what I want.
But again, that's amazing. Look at the color in that.
And the other thing about folk art, too, it's not usually proportional. So if you look at this little boy and you look at this little boy, they're the same size, right? Then that's one thing about folk art. It's never really proportional. But again, the quilts were a big part of my life. Yeah. The canning and pies, all these things I remember at the fair.
Wonderful. Fun. Okay. And then some more of Barbara.
Yeah, Barbara Clark Fleming. But you can see again with like I said about the proportions, see the chicken, and this chicken is really close this way, but this one's the same size. And that's quite common in folk art. You'll see that a lot.
And again, I think, we tend to think of Canadian art obviously as Group of Seven or outside or natural as, trees and lakes and, but this is,
one
again,
of
this
her
is
memories.
the memories. Yeah.
Yeah. Another one of her beautiful memories.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, look at the detail and how much work she put into those bricks. Yeah. That's a lot of work. That would have taken hours to do that.
patience.
And patience.
Patience.
Yeah.
Well, I look at your work, Lucy, and think a lot of patience as well.
Yeah.
I definitely couldn't do that.
Yeah. This one's called Smooth Jazz, or Jazz Cat. Sorry, Jazz Cat.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a lot of fun to paint. Again, it's the whimsy that I love. You know, the flowers are alive, and the birds and the butterflies, and yeah, that was fun to paint.
So it's a little noisy right now because there's a tea room right behind us. So that's the other great thing about the gallery is it's kind of a destination spot. Yeah, which is great. But yeah, okay. So we are now going to go into a bit of a room with another significant painting. We're going to start over here. Oh, the
And
clocks.
again, midnight hour. This was New Year's Eve, and when we were little, my parents would go out, and then in the morning we would find all the little blower things and the hats and the different things that they got at the New Year's party.
Yeah.
And they'd bring them home for us.
So what's interesting about that is when artists sometimes face a blank canvas, or anybody faces a blank canvas, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to start. But you take the stories, you take the things you remember, and just because there might be discarded New Year's things, all of a sudden that idea becomes this.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and that's something we can all relate to.
Yeah,
right?
and the fireworks I love. And this one was lots of fun to paint too. It's called Dragonfly Cafe. So there is a big giant dragonfly here.
Yeah.
And yeah, these little fairies are just enjoying some tea. That one I really loved painting too. But again, you can see the progression.
Yeah.
Because there's more shading now.
Yeah.
Right, than there was before.
It's more illustrative.
And I
in the
like
sense
movement. I love movement. Like it looks like they're actually flying. Like I like that, the butterflies and the activity.
Yeah.
Besides just a solid thing not moving. This one here has been it's been one of the more popular ones. I think it's got the Northern Lights in it. I tried to paint Northern Lights in the background, and it's called Dancing Snowflakes. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
This one is a Christmas. We used to do a Christmas concert at my sister and I went to a one-room schoolhouse. We were pioneer girls. And so when I painted it, it's called Little Susie Snowflake. That's Marion, my sister was Susie Snowflake.
Yeah.
But then I put in Denise Pally, Glenn Pearson. Sorry, Glenn.
Oh my goodness! I wondered that when I saw that. Oh, that's funny.
That's not you, though, Jane.
No, that's okay. But, yeah. Oh wow.
Yep.
Wow. No, that is beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's called a Christmas concert.
So
and Little Susie Snowflake.
I'll just pretend this one's me.
Okay, we can do that. That's okay. They would have worked together then. Okay, yeah, we could do that. Glenn has red hair.
And then this actually is a painting close to our hearts. This is a painting you did for us.
Yeah, and it was for actually a fundraiser. Right?
Yeah, it was. That's actually, you're right. That's right. It was for a fundraiser. It was auctioned off.
Yeah.
And it's come back to us in that sense. But you're right. This is called
A Book's Herd.
Yeah.
And a Book is a twin sister.
Yeah.
And Cass, the Canadian Aid for South Sudan, they had. They donate goats to families, and so they called it A Book's Herd, and people could purchase a goat. And then when we went to South Sudan, we would actually get the goats from the market and actually walk them out to the families and give them to the families.
Let's actually talk about South Sudan a little bit, because you went for 10 years yourself.
Yeah, I think it was 9 or 10.
9 or 10?
That's a lot.
Yeah. But, and why did you go?
Because I've always wanted to go to Sudan or to Africa. And then I thought at first I wanted to go just to go on a safari. But then when I started looking into it, I realized that isn't where I wanted to go. And when I was a child, I had read a book about a teacher who had volunteered, was teaching in South Sudan. And so from that point on, I've always wanted to go to Sudan. I did a project on Sudan when I was in public school. And then when I met Kathy Mueller on a radio show, she had just got back, and I'd seen the clips that you had filmed with firefighters. So I talked to her afterwards and said I'd always wanted to go. And then she introduced me to folks. And then rest is history. Yeah.
So then you came along, you followed your dream, you came along. And one of the things we love about you is that you also wanted to do something with it. So you and Denise Pelley ran the arts camp for years and years and years.
Yeah, the first year I think we had 60 kids a day, and the last year they could be from 300 to 500, and they were just kept coming and coming and coming.
You took on the role of actually with the art, and you would also, some of the kids would come back and became kind of special, like you would give them some special lessons, or you just build some special connections with them. But we were driving up here, and you were talking a little bit about what they were drawing when you first arrived versus what they were drawing when.
Yeah, when we first arrived, I was horrified. That's when I realized the impact of war on children. And when I saw a little tiny girl draw a soldier with a knife chasing another one and stabbing him, or a decapitated head and a decapitated leg, and these children were like 6, 7, 8 years old. And then as time progressed, the war had stopped, and each year we came in, their drawings started to change, and they started to change to their homes, soccer or football, whatever they want to call it. Flowers, animals, like it changed. It was starting to change. Even the kids that had been really traumatized when they were younger, their drawings were changing too.
And that's folk art.
Yeah.
So they were drawing folk art. They didn't necessarily have the paints per se.
No.
And of course, taking paints in is really difficult. But with the crayons and with whatever we had, that was just. So it was, seeing that progression was huge, and you were responsible for that, Lucy.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it was wonderful. Obviously in terms of, so we're back after our walk around, which is, I'm thrilled. Now this doesn't sound quite right, but I'm so proud of you in the context of, again, this is a public gallery, and this is, every artist would love to be in a public gallery, to actually have it recognized.
In fact, the first day I came here to bring my art, I just started crying when I came for Danielle downstairs. I just thought, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful.
It's a beautiful setting, but just the fact that the recognition of kind of your life's work and what you're doing, I think is just is amazing. So I love your art, Lucy.
Thank you.
I really do. I think you have to sit and you have to look at it, and it's wonderful. So thank you. That's awesome. You. So art, what does art mean to you?
It means creativity. It means escaping for a while into a story, and you're creating it as you go.
And what do you see as kind of the biggest purpose of art? Is it that, or
Purpose for myself, you mean? Or
yeah, well, let's talk about purpose for yourself, and then let's talk about art in that big sense.
Purpose for myself is the ability to get my creativity out, to be creative, and to, again, go into it. And you can spend hours, as you know, and you look at the clock and it's like 3 hours later, and you kind of just go to this place. I like that.
Why is this so important?
Art in society, I think, is important because this is actually, some of these pieces here are telling a story of past history, of the area, the people. I think it touches people. Sometimes it brings back their memories from their childhood. The colors it's just whimsical, or it can be dark, some paintings. It can be,
if you were to sit down for dinner and you can have anybody at that table, who would you want to spend some time with?
Eleanor Roosevelt.
Eleanor Roosevelt, okay.
I've read many stories about her and her life, and I think she was really strong, smart, progressive woman, and she cared about women, and she was actually very loving of all people. I just thought she's just amazing woman.
What I love about you is that you answered that in that big question, because that's, it's not just about the artist that you necessarily inspired, because in many ways I was expecting you to say Grandma Moses, and you can have lots of people at the table, but you actually chose someone. And it's not that she's bigger than art, but it's the effect. And she would have a good conversation with you about creativity or yourself or whatever. But she
made a statement, and I didn't get my driver's license till I was 30 because I was scared of driving.
Wow.
And so, but I wanted to start my own business, so I had to. And she made a quote, and it was, "You must do the things that you think you cannot." And I cut that out, and I wrote it down, actually, put it in my wallet. And every day I went for my driver's training, I would read it. And then as life progressed, I've used it many times since. You must do the things that you think you cannot. I do not like flying. I did not like flying when I went to Africa.
Oh my goodness, and we were on these small planes, 10-seaters, that you felt all this turbulence.
And flying over the ocean was one of my biggest fears, but I kept saying to myself, you must do the things you think you cannot. Because if you don't, then you're going to miss out on all that years of folks that I met in Sudan or other experiences.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's wonderful. So a couple of simple questions in the sense that art is the visual language, and obviously paint and colors are things, but what is it that, what's your favorite color and why? Do you have?
My favorite? Well, apparently when I was little, my mom said my favorite color was purple.
Purple? Okay.
I like, I don't know if I have a favorite. I love blue. I guess that would be my favorite color.
Yeah, but you love the interplays, because I look at your artwork, and of course there's lots of natural green because you're doing scenes, but there's something like this where like it's all the interplay, right? It's there's that wonderful clock. It's the bees with a quilt. So this is, and what are they doing on the quilt?
They're quilting. This is called a quilting bee.
Oh my goodness, okay.
That's the name of it.
That's the name of it, is a quilting bee. Okay, here, I thought they were like eating.
No, they're knit. See, they have like thread.
Wow.
They're quilting. My grandma was a big quilter.
Oh, that's amazing. And they're quilting bees in a quilt. That's great. But something like this, obviously, it's a more limited palette, but you've got the yellows and the greens and the purples, and it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So color in that sense becomes, particularly with this work, color is really important. And as you say, it might be flat color, kind of almost like an illustration, but it fits all together. Color becomes one of the big things. Okay.
I want to thank you for having me do this. I really appreciate it. And I do feel humbled by this whole experience.
Yeah.
He asked me, Matthew, the curator, asked me during COVID if I'd be interested in doing this. And I was taken aback. He said he's been following my art for years, and I had never met him.
Wow.
But he'd always liked folk art, and he thought that it was being misrepresented in Canada and being overshadowed by other
and not appreciated as much, for sure.
For what it is. So he was thrilled to be able to bring this to Brantford.
Yeah.
And I was really pleased to be part of it.
No, actually, Lucy, it is. I think the curator kind of hit the nail on the head in many ways, didn't he? In terms of, I think we don't see the significance of it, and we don't see the significance of it when it comes to not just appreciation, but how it fits into like our history or where we've come from. And I think that's incredibly important. We have a personal connection, and I've always loved your art. I shouldn't say I've always loved your art. I grew to love your art, to be honest, as I grew to love you.
Thank you.
And I think that the artist cannot be separated from their art. I think it's amazing. I really appreciate you spending time. I appreciate the time that you came to South Sudan and made a difference in so many people's lives. I think that's incredible.
Well, and all the folks that I met through you and Glenn, over the years, all the different people that have gone with us.
Yep, for sure. It's art can be a solitary experience when you're doing it, but it's not a solitary experience when it's being shown.
Right.
And South Sudan, it was never a solitary experience, but art, music, health, all of those things were incredibly important part of the journey as we went along. The only thing that's missing from all of this is obviously a visit to your studio, which is right now your kitchen. And I know you're working and haven't been getting to it as much as you would like to, but you will get back to it. And whenever you do get that studio up and going again, let's come and visit and see let's see you paint.
Okay.
Does that sound okay?
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
It isn't the heavy trays that make the job difficult, or the fast pace you need to keep up. It's not working another double because someone called